And we are spinning and we are live on Facebook with the Oasis Palisades Retreat Collective. We are coming to you today with our weekly wellness wake up. We wanted to share our self-care tips and tools for us really becoming our own medicine and living in our best quality of life and state of health. And so today we wanted to talk about these energetics of being human, what it means to be human, human mind, body, and spirit in this physical body. I'm going to start first by talking about these simple facts of the human body being an electrical factory. And this is what is the root of health and also the root of disease. Do we help our body produce the electricity that has to run through us to drive all of our functions and all of the regeneration of our body being rebuilt, and also to keep things like pain away, to keep things like inflammation away? And so once we really get on a physiological standpoint that we are an electrical factory, and so the oxygen we breathe in with vital nutrients like B vitamins creates the Krebs cycle, this chemical reaction that produces the ATP electrical energy that flows through our entire body, that supplies the energy for all of our cells to function, for us to be regenerated and grow. And so then we can see if that electrical flow is stopped from our spinal cord through all of our nervous system into all of our cells, all of our organs, all of our vital endocrine system, none of that can function without that flow of electricity, energy. So if that's stopped, then we have things like pain, and then we have things like inflammation and waste products of cells collect. And so our diseases are grown out of this electrical energy not flowing, and our organs and endocrine system not functioning properly to make things like hormones that are the instructions of our body to take action and do things for us so that we can be rebuilt and regenerated. We have 3 trillion cells that need to be remade. So we need this factory of electricity here to keep producing electricity to make that happen. And so that can get blocked if we're not helping that process. We throw a wrench in it and we get in the way of it. And so how can we help our body, right, produce this electricity and circulate it is what we're going to talk about today. And so that can be from practices like Qigong, which is translated as energy movement. That is from Asia. We also have yoga, of course, which is energy movement as well from the East Indian traditions of Ayurvedic medicine. So when we do movement, we want to create this lymphatic drainage. So all of the waste products of our cells will collect and get trapped in our body and not be cleared unless we stimulate some kind of pressure and movement to drive those waste products into our lymph system to clear. So lymph drainage is the foundation of our health. That's the biggest issue here. And so we want to support that process. And we know when we're not supporting it, when we have any type of pain, it's like a traffic jam. It's like our garbage collection never comes to the neighborhood in our body that hurts. all of those waste products, inflammatory fluids that are in response to all of those wastes and toxins being trapped in the body, everything gets stuck. And this is the physiological perspective that we can measure in Western science. We can have lab tests, we can do diagnostics, we can see where these inflammatory pockets are. But from a mental emotional standpoint, it's really important to understand that when we feel stress, when we are unhappy, depressed, anxious, when we are arguing with reality, we don't like the way things are, and we go into fight or flight stress response, we stop circulation, we tense all of our muscles, we tense every part of our body. So again, the electrical energy cannot flow, the blood body fluids can't flow, the waste products can't get out, and the new vital nutrients, oxygen can't be delivered to keep cells healthy and rebuilding and regenerating us. And of course, I'm sure people have in their lives, we all as human beings experience pain, physical pain and emotional pain. And they're intertwined and they create a block somewhere in our body. So from the stress response, the usual suspects, neck and shoulder, right, pain and tightness, following the pathway of the vagus nerve from the amygdala trauma center in the back of the brain. We can feel something stuck in our throat, have neck pain, shoulder knots and pain, going through our back, down into our chest tightness, upper back pain between our shoulder blades, a knot in our stomach and nausea. That's one of my favorite ones. When I'm stressed, I feel nausea in my stomach. And also a heaviness or a pain or a tightness in our abdomen. And so that can be just from stressful thoughts, creating that physical reaction. And then also a physical state of being blocked, not activating our lymph drainage, having all of these waste products trapped in our body, and all of this inflammation. And bad fats like triglycerides are not electrically conductive. And so we can have a pocket physically in our body where things aren't moving, and that creates pain and discomfort, blocks our energy, and will affect our emotions. So again, it works both ways. So I love one of the phrases I got from one of my mentors when I was studying yoga and Qigong: a soft body makes a soft mind and a soft heart too. And vice versa. So if we soften our mind and soften our heart, all of that tension of fight or flight will be released in our body, so we can work both ways. So this is the self-care education that I help my patients with, is that we can cleanse in many ways. Physically, we can cleanse by energy movement like Qigong that Stephanie's going to talk about. Stephanie is the owner of the Oasis Palisades Spa with us here today. She's the co-owner there and a massage therapist and a very experienced dance instructor and dancer. And now she's started this personal practice of Qigong and feeling how all of those energy blocks are moved, and how she can feel so much lighter and so much more energized and relieved. Because when we get our energy moving, physically moving, that waste product and inflammation pile up, and clearing that into our lymphatic system with pressure, with movement, then we feel energized. All of that electricity in us can flow. We feel lighter. We feel more alive. We are vibrantly healthy now. We're operating at full capacity. We are energized. And so that's one way to do it, with the Qigong movement, with movement practices, stimulating that lymphatic drainage and getting our energy moving through us. And Terry Allen, who's with us here, who is a very experienced energy worker, a wonderful healer who uses energy work and crystal healing, a crystal bin, and also personal development, again, to move the mental, emotional blocks, to soften the body so that the physiological effects of stress can be cleared too. And so that can be done with guided imagery meditation she does, and also with her energy work practices too, her sessions. And then the other thing that's important for all of us to realize in this new modern world of technology, we are affected by the environment around us. So Terry's also going to talk today about the energetics. So there are, many of us have heard of how we are affected by the astrological movements of planets and stars. There are different periods where different types of energy and light, solar flares, all kinds of energy will pass through the earth and affect the human nervous system, because we are electrical energy and we're an antenna to receive that. And so if we don't understand we can be affected by the environment and energy coming down to planet Earth, we might wonder, wow, I am so emotional, or I'm so stressed out, I don't know who I am, what is happening to me? And it's actually that we're letting things pass through us from the environment. And two, what we eat, another way to cleanse and increase energy movement. Wonderful Dr. Tiari White, who's also an acupuncturist like myself, is going to talk about the secret life of plants. So there is a intelligence, a frequency of energy in all living things, and that's part of what we define in Western medicine as as nutrients and phytochemicals of the plants that we study, and also how we can measure with our instruments the frequency of light and the electromagnetic field around plants, around humans. This is a real phenomenon that we can measure with our technology today. And it's part of what we receive when we eat these herbs and plants and have them be a part of our regeneration factory here. We get those nutrients in us that help us produce more energy and also reduce inflammation as well, like the Qigong practices, for example. So the plants can help us do that too. So things, when we look at an alkaline diet, we are more electrically conductive when we have less inflammation that can be created by a more alkaline blood and body fluid environment from plants. The plants have so much to offer us. So we can work with being in the human body, work with being in the earth and nature, work with the nature that we put in our mouth to feed our body. We can work with this process of making ourselves cleansed of all of the baggage of inflammation, all of the baggage of toxins, all of the emotional clutter and baggage, all those blocks in our body, mind, and spirit. We can use these tools to clear all that out, to make space, to take in that health and vitality, really operate at peak performance. So I wanted to give that introduction just to help everyone see the landscape here. That's why lifestyle is so important. And having tools for self-care to put us in our peak performance state are so helpful to us. They make our quality of life better in every way. So Stephanie, please tell us, we're going to roll it over to you. What is your experience lately? Now you're doing Qigong practices of energy movement. And since you're so in tune with your own body from being a dancer and dance instructor and a massage therapist for so long, how does that feel for you? Your personal experience of Qigong adventure.
My personal experience is becoming amazing. Just the whole, all the different Tai Chi, Qigong, acupuncture, meridians, chakras, you know, all of that. So I teach belly dancing, and also I'm a Zumba instructor, and I have always at the end of my class, I always did like, you know, free flow and breathing and stuff. But what I've definitely incorporated in my dance classes is the tapping. And it's so amazing in the Zumba class how you can incorporate the tapping with just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. Or in belly dancing, you can do the tapping when you're doing shimmies, you know, but it's so important. And I get to talk to the people and share with them and tell them what they're working on. Like, you know, when they're doing for their thymus or for their spleen or for their lungs and their immune system and for their kidneys, and then get to go. So also with teaching dance, I've noticed how it correlates with the Qigong movements and, you know, the different movements of the hands. And so I started to study with the Qigong, different teachers, and what the movements of the hands are meaning. And it's just amazing the discoveries. Like, there's always stuff to learn, but even for myself. So we put our hands together and we do the ball of energy, and maybe some people have never even heard of doing that, but take that. So you do the ball of energy and you do movements and stuff, and you're flowing the own energy, and it's just a self tool for yourself to just be. And the movements with the Qigong, I love one of the explanations about what it's doing, the movement is doing in the fluidity of the electrical energy in your body, and how at the end you lift your leg out to release it. So you're flowing it through and releasing it. Does that make sense to you? Because you guys know, I'm just learning. I'm like in the baby stages of this, like, knowledge, you know? So, can maybe you guys can explain what that means. So the movement of the qigong, this one qigong, is to do something, and then at the end you just kick your leg out to, so it's in and then throwing it out.
Yeah, so we are fused between heaven and earth is one of the translated concepts. And so at the top of our head, at a point called due 2000 meeting point, is how we connect to the creative, powerful force of the universe, that creative energy, electricity, that frequency coming from the heavens. So it comes down through the top of our head, but then at the bottom of our feet in kidney 1, at the ball of our feet behind our toes, we're connected to the earth, and we are a fuse. So a fuse has electrical energy pass through us from heaven to earth. Long practice, as we are a fuse, we can gather it up and we can circulate it, bring it into our hands, pass it through our body. We can receive it and give it back to the earth. The whole point is to let it pass through us. Emotions are powerful, big energy experiences too. And so at the end of the day, everything is designed to pass through us. We only have a problem if we keep stuff.
Okay.
So yes, we can direct it out through the system. We're a whole spider web system. And you can direct it out. You can kick it out of your toes and your feet. And you feel it. I mean, too, when you practice, describe how do you feel. You can feel so light, so free, so carried by the chi, by the energy that you allow in and pass through you. It's amazing. And in just a few minutes, like, how do you feel after the practice? It's so uplifting.
I want to encourage people to start to just get a taste of it themselves, of just, you know, rubbing the hands together and doing that, and just whatever it is that you do. But there was something else I was going to say, and now it just slipped my mind. It'll come back to me. I mean, you could, there's so many different things to do.
We can share some references too of some of the teachers that you're studying with. There's a wonderful online library. There's a lot of resources people can.
There's this guy. Okay, so what I love about qigong, because for me, there's tai chi and there's qigong, and I'm sure there's a difference. Tai chi is really, for me, it's hard. What I like about the qigong, and then there's this George Xavier Love, Dr. George Xavier Love, and then there's another Spring Forest Qigong, and then there's this other person. So there's a lot of different influences, of course, you know, even you, and then there's this lady, Dr. Amba, that I was telling you guys about, who, that's what impressed me the most, is that you can become a doctor of Qigong, like.
Yes, 5 Branches University in San Jose has a medical Qigong program. And
so I gotta figure out, like, because there's so much. So like, how do you like do a 5-minute ultimate head to toe? I'll end by saying, because I'll do a shameless plug that Dr. Andrea Renee is doing acupuncture and acupuncture facials at Oasis Palisades, and everybody else, we're doing retreats, and we're all affiliated with Oasis Palisades and stuff. But I was fascinated with, since people can't have facials right now at Oasis Palisades, there's facial acupuncture, but there's so many freaking things I've learned you could do for yourself. So many crazy movements of just doing stuff like that and stuff like that. And how important these pressure points are here. So important. And then doing crazy things like with, like 10 times going back and back and back and back and back and back and back. And then with this one, back and back and back 10 times. Like, there's so many things that you can do on your own, and how important the ears are. And even with the facial rejuvenation, so many points in the head, in the back of the head, and but it's amazing.
These are all areas
and it,
jammed up, and you
yeah,
can release them.
I know from the first time I had the face acupuncture, you say, and we hold all the stress and tension in our faces and our scalps, and we tighten up. And you would think that tightening up would like be good, but tightening up for the anti-aging is the opposite. So maybe
we need the blood and body fluids to stimulate collagen production to feed the reproduction of the skin on our face and the lift and tone. Again, if nothing moves in there, and
so
the inflammation,
I have actually been having in between. Okay, I have to say, in between my Netflix binges, I am studying Qigong.
That's a great way to balance out.
Let me finish with saying that with what's going on now, we have to do whatever we can and definitely do what we're passionate about. Don't beat yourself up about how you're not being productive doing this, and this, because maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing right now, and you're not passionate about that. And right now I'm passionate about this Qigong and you guys and wellness and Oasis Palisades, and you got to stay on that momentum of passion, right? So and that's all part of the energy too. It's like you creating your environment, you're creating your passion. And I'm so grateful that I get to create wellness and with you ladies in there. Give it to Tiari.
So Tiari is going to share about this secret life of plants now, and so we can take those energetics in. Thank you, Stephanie, because again, when we are passionate and enthusiastic, that energy that's created from that emotion just really fills us up and fills up our lives, and then it goes into a ripple effect around everybody and everything. So we're so grateful to be here together and share this passion for living good lives, right? Being healthy, happy, and whole. So how do we do that, Tiari, with plants? What are the phenomenons, the secrets, and the secret life of plants that you want to help us discover today?
Okay. Well, I guess what I just would like to say as possibly the most, radical concept that I could share right now is that we are not so different from plants. We are not so different from essentially anything around us. Everything that we are is connected to everything that is. So I don't mean to sound super esoteric, but it's actually just it's really just physics, and it's the knowledge that is currently accepted and available in science. It just hasn't really filtered down into our, popular understanding of how we handle, especially our own health. And when we have, things that come up for us, we tend to take a kind of very old school, really almost 19th century approach to what we are as human beings. And, ironically, where science is taking us now has a lot in common with what the concept of life was back in the time when, the Vedas were written. So it's, kind of ironic that we've come back to, almost a super ancient view of what life and energy is. And, I think the concept of prana as it exists in Ayurveda is something that people are, especially people who are doing yoga, are familiar with that idea. We have in Chinese medicine the idea of qi, which tends to be kind of thought of almost in an exercise standpoint, like qigong or tai chi or any of these, sort of exercise-based protocols. But prana, or that energy, can be present in plants. So you could say, I happen to have this spiky little succulent plant next to me on the table. And you can see this plant has a very distinct kind of energy going on, right? And so it's really what we discover as we look at the bioenergetics of plants, biophotonic research that's been happening, all kinds of things, is that the form that a living thing takes a lot of times is indicative of the type of energy that's flowing through that plant. And we see this in something called the law of signatures, which is one of the foundations of herbal medicine, traditional herbal medicine, where you can see that a lot of times the shapes that certain plants take actually reflect, in many cases, what the plant is good for. You know, for instance, a walnut that really looks like a brain. Well, it turns out that walnuts have all kinds of oils that are really excellent for the brain. You know, you can take plants or fruits and vegetables that are high in different plant compounds that create red pigment, you know, and then it turns out that those plants also have properties that are really good for nourishing the blood, you know, bringing iron into the body. And these are things that, you know, really support the idea that there's a lot that we can do just by using our own instincts for energetically what's happening around us with plants and foods and things. And we can, if we choose to be a little bit in touch with ourselves, that same connectivity that we get and awareness of our own energy that we get from doing practices like Stephanie's beginning to do with Qigong, or different types of body treatments like acupuncture, and, you know, what Renee was talking about at the beginning of our call, all of those things will sensitize you, you know, to the fact that you aren't this static being. You know, you're a dynamic, energy flowing entity, you know, that has a physical representation, and also a representation that we don't necessarily identify as physical, although there may be differing layers of physicality that are not even visible to us, you know, on the energy spectrum. And we know that those are there. There's been tons of research that's been done. I highly recommend this book from the 70s. It's called The Secret Life of Plants. It's a classic by Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird, who was a herbalist and forager from that time. And it's just a great tour de force that kind of takes you through all kinds of people that have done research on the energetic matrix that people and plants both inhabit, and the interconnectivity that we have just through our consciousness, and how that affects what we perceive as being physical that's going on. But the more you learn about it, the more you really can see that there's a continuum that's happening, and between the physical and the energetic.
Does this have anything to do with Bach flowers, or that's a whole separate thing? Because that's...
Oh, sure. You know, like I was saying at the beginning, it's all connected. This is all one, you know, interconnected web.
And of course, isn't every single pharmaceutical drug a plant or something like that? I don't know for sure.
Well, I think you might be thinking about the fact that a lot of plants have been derived from plant medicines, you know, like aspirin, for instance, right? The willow bark has these certain salicylic compounds that were traditionally known to help with pain relief. And they took those compounds and then created synthetic versions that would be easy to manufacture. Same thing with hydrochloroquine and all kinds of other drugs that, you know, were originally inspired by compounds that were found in plants. And then oftentimes what they do is they take them and they make synthetic versions of those compounds after they break them down. That's kind of another interesting thing we could talk about on a future time, is whether or not when you break down active compounds in plants, you isolate them and you create synthetic versions of those, whether or not they really retain the full value of the plant. Because, you know, when you isolate a compound like that, you have a very narrow view of what that plant can do for you on multiple levels. And that's part of the, you know, the beauty of learning about the history of some of the research that's been done on plant consciousness, human consciousness, different ways that and different people that have been involved in recording what these different fields are. So if you want to look up a few things, I'll close by just saying Google plant perception as a Google phrase. You'll come up with some really interesting stuff. There is a great book, interesting book that was written called What a Plant Knows, and by a guy named Dan Chamovitz. And you can look at the work of a guy named Harold Saxton Burr, who is a professor of anatomy at Yale, who did some amazing experiments that are spoken about in or referenced in The Secret Life of Plants. And also, if you're interested in looking at some of these energetic fields yourself, you might consider getting a Kortkov GDV camera, which GDV stands for gas discharge visualization. So these are different ways of people have come up with to photograph these fields. And sometimes, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, you know, I encourage you to experience it with your own body by doing Qigong exercises. Yoga, Kundalini yoga especially, is very good for getting in touch with some of those other dimensions. And encourage you to experiment with plants and plant medicine to see what that brings you. I'm not necessarily endorsing psychedelics when I say plant medicine. I really mean it in terms of herbology to address whatever's happening with yourself, not to be afraid of that. And also just explore other types of therapies that just work purely on the, that work especially from a energetic standpoint, like the work that Terry does with crystals and lights. So it's all worth looking at. And the exciting thing is we all get to make up our own minds about what we think about all of this stuff. But if we never investigate it, then we'll never know. So I encourage you to go ahead, have a good time reading The Secret Life of Plants by Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird.
Can I just say one thing before, just in regard to what Tiare was saying, and how we view things? For over 30, one of my very first mentors when I was 18 years old was an older man who was, I guess you would say, an intuitive healer back in the day. And I remember him doing whatever he would be doing, you know, body, you know, pulling, you know, doing whatever. And so for 30 years, I thought it was, you know, strange until one day when, you know, we all have to be in our own, you know, to understand energy medicine, because, you know, it is scientific. It really exists. And so, but it, you know, we all come around sometime.
Yeah, it really exists. You can experience it. You can experience it by working on yourself as well. You know.
Well, that's what happened. Was I just started on my own intuitively doing things like that, and I was like, that is so weird. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Next time you bump your knee or your elbow somewhere, try and use your power of focus and intention and brush away the pain. Just try that as a simple exercise. It's really fascinating. This is something that I taught my daughter to do, and she uses it very successfully to control, you know, minor aches and pains, things that, you know, you wouldn't go to the emergency room for, you wouldn't necessarily put something on it. So that's a very safe way to kind of experiment with, ooh, I just, you know, hurt my shoulder. I was just, you know, bitten by a mosquito or something inflammation wise. It's really interesting to try, you know, rubbing your hands together, getting in touch with what's happening there, and then just using your hand and your intention with the idea that the energy goes where your focus goes, and see what the result is. Encourage you to do that.
And you can have an undeniable personal experience of that energy movement and the power of your intention, because that's really what this is about. We share each week experiences and tools that people can use so that you can have an undeniable personal experience of feeling a shift. So we can change our state at any moment by choice as needed. Again, if we check in, like I loved what you said, Stephanie, about checking in with your passion. Tiari has mentioned the idea of checking in for your self-awareness and letting your intuition and consciousness lead you where you need to go. I love how, Stephanie, you were intuitively practicing the movements of your teacher. It just made sense to do that. And so that's what we can do here, is get in touch. So this is a great segue for Terry Allen, because she's an expert in helping people get in touch with what's going on inside of them and how they are reacting to and responding to what's going on around them, in their relationships, in the entire universe, and how it influences us. And so this is great for us to share too, another perspective on this amazing, miraculous experience of being energetic human beings. Please take it away, Terry.
Thanks,
explain
Andrea.
what's happening to us lately.
Well, I think that over the last, since March, you know, everybody knows we've gone through just a lot of emotional cleansing, not from our mind to our body, in every layer, but it has come off in stages, I feel. You know, we all say we want a lot of change in our life. We want all these, you know, big changes, big dramatic shifts, but it has to come off in stages, because if we just rip it off all at one go, then we probably wouldn't be able to cope. So through my own process, and with me and my husband in our family, we have been cleansing on so many different levels, and so has a lot of people, because I've noticed that through my clients. So a lot of the old repeat patterns that we've been going through over the years, depending on your age, has now really come to the surface in order for us to cleanse off. And those that have not cleansed them off, or not wanting to look there, will be dragged energetically, which isn't very nice. So it is very important for you to look within yourself and see what's going on around you, see what's going on in your family, what emotions are coming up, without being, as Stephanie said before, judging yourself, bashing yourself. You know, it's a time of nurturing yourself, of loving yourself, honoring yourself, and respecting yourself. It's so important. But lately, there's been another surge of energy the last few weeks, where a lot of these energy spikes that I shared with you earlier has been coming down onto the planet. And my husband and I did a very intense cleansing on ourselves probably about a month ago, and getting really onto the deep root cause of many things in our life that need to be cleansed and removed from childhood, that in order for you to flow and release. So this is the time, if anybody wants to do that. It's so important. If you want to get to the root cause of that emotion from when you're young. And so I went back to the age of when I was born. Okay, so I've gone all the way back. And for the same for my husband, a little bit later in life. But what I'm saying is, when we get to the root cause out and we cleanse it all out, after we did that, we had a massive cleanse, not just of the physical, but also of the emotional. And, you know, I've been talking to a few of you, especially Tiari, on the fact that we had a massive release from our colon, and it was huge. But the colon, as you guys know, as you're both doctors, the colon holds, it's like a brain. It holds so much emotional baggage And that what was coming out was the emotional baggage. So I've never experienced anything like it ever in my life. And I'm 53. I have never experienced anything like this at all. And so, you know, we knew that it was, you know, I've been on a strict diet for 2 months. Like, you had to take everything out: sugar, alcohol. I mean, I don't drink anyway, but I'm just putting it out there. We had to strip everything back to the point that we were eating rice and bananas and crackers. So we had to cleanse on every physical level for 2 months in order for our body to re-enter and reprocess different products into our body. So it was an emotional, but also a physical cleanse. So the food that I wanted before, I mean, I have to be very strict anyway with myself because I don't eat meat, I don't eat animals, and I can't touch dairy. But I was, you know, I was having quite a bit of dark chocolate. But what I'm saying is we had to now cleanse our mind, a lot of meditation, a lot of fluids, very simple diets. And so this was the second part of this whole lockdown that we've been doing. We went through an emotional in the head, then we went down through another cleanse, and then when we did the deep cleansing on ourselves from clearing the deep root that we spiritually got guided to do, was then when the release happened. And as Tiari says before, you know, I then replenished myself through herbs, through the cleansing herbs that I received from Stephanie's Oasis place. So I did, you know, we're on 2 batches of that, nourishing the body, cleansing. And I think looking back at the whole 2 months, we've had to get back to a very simple plant diet. So as Tiari says before, you know, with her books, putting that connection of Mother Earth and the plants back into the energy of my body so it can move synchronicity with everything around us. So basically, you know, looking back, I'm going to try and find the author and send it to you. We should be listening to the plants, hearing the plants, connecting to the plants. When you meditate at a tree, really tune into the energy of that tree and getting all that plant energy into our body and cleansing all the toxins out from emotional to physical, then allows us to have that real deep connect with Mother Earth, with the energy and the flow of it. And that's how we're flowing. And so I find that with a lot of my customers, everything that's coming up in their life, where they're going through divorces, they're separating, there's real bad arguments within the family, it's the deep root cause of when they're very young that I'm working with at the moment to get that, well, I call them the weeds. You can't physically grow your new garden in weeds. So that's what, so if there's been so much energy coming down onto the planet, these spikes of energy, and if you can Google them or look them up, you will be able to find them. Not many people are reporting them, and they should. And so that is being integrated into our body. But in order for that new light energy to come in, you have to disperse the old. And that means what you're eating, what you're putting in your body mentally and emotionally and physically. And so you, in order for that to integrate in, so being very gentle, as someone mentioned before, like I think Stephanie, you know, if it doesn't matter if you're just doing nothing, you're nurturing yourself, you're spending time in nature, you're spending time with your loved ones, or maybe you're taking a completely different path. It doesn't matter as long as it is feeding you at this time. It's all about you coming into that alignment within our planet. And so that's really the importance. And I think when everybody came out of this lockdown, energetically, I feel that people have been coming to me saying, oh, you know, we're not connecting with that person anymore, or there's been arguments with the family, or there's been arguments with the boyfriend or a loved one you haven't seen. And that is because during the lockdown, we've all gone through an energetic shift, okay? And whatever cleansing, some people have done more cleansings than others, spiritual cleansing. And when you come out of this lockdown, you do not align with them anymore. It just means you're on a different vibration. And so that's where the planet's trying to work its way out now, that some people have gone like bumper cars when they've come out and not really looked at it from an energy point. You know, okay, they're in a different place and you're in your place and you just move off, and that's just where it's at. And so I think in the world now, we've all come out of this lockdown and everybody's wanting something different, and it's got to find that alignment, within themselves. So it's really taking that moment and honoring yourself, looking at what needs to change, what needs to go, and what gifts you are presently here to bring to the planet. How are we to help each other and Mother Earth, and especially the children, the children especially that are coming forward. And so that's why I wanted to touch on that today. So I would suggest people to, I'm going to end in a meditation in a minute, but I suggest that, cleaning up your diet, doing your meditations, walking in nature, really honoring yourself and really connecting, as Tiari said, to that inner intuition, that how many times people just ignore it and go with what people want, not what you want, really always putting yourself second. No, this is the time you have to put yourself first, not from a bit of a selfish perspective, but when we all get into alignment, then it shows within our planet, because it is a reflection. So it's a time of
yes.
Real renewal.
We're more capable to do.
Yeah, it's just a time. We have to work on all these levels within ourselves, and it's just so important. We have so many tools out there, and I think we have separated ourselves from Mother Earth and the tools that she's giving us, and the miracles that she's giving us, and the energy that she's giving us. And it's so glad that people are a lot more outside now. I think there's a lot more respect, because they were locked in lockdown, trying to buy a bicycle, forget it. Everyone's got one now. Everyone's outside. And I think that's where the energy is being, respecting Mother Earth and looking and really respecting and loving her. And also, we are to drop from here into here. We have to drop into our heart, not this. It's got to move out the way. We have to drop into our heart and into our intuition. And so that's what I've been working on. So that's what I wanted to explain to people, is that, and I do that with children and teenagers. And it's really great if you start with children at a young age. We do it with my son. And I've got a friend also that works on my son. But it's very important to clean out, and especially for the children, to start very young and to be aligned, because they're the ones that are going to carry the energy forward. They're the ones that are going to come into the big difference, really. I feel it will be that generation that's coming up, and they're a lot more smarter, a lot more wiser, and a lot more in tune than when we were young. So I think it's, working on a child or a teenager or yourself at this time is so you're enabling you to bring those gifts and not putting the imprint of what you feel emotionally from a parent, putting your imprint on your child. Allow their gifts and allow it to come through. But only when we can clean off the imprint of the weeds that have been left there in the first place. So do you want to say something, Stephanie?
I was going to say, well, what about when you're lucky, your child is young, you still can have all these great impressions. I've already, my poor babies are learning on their own.
No, but you can, from an energy point of view, right?
Yeah.
You can always, I've got on my YouTube channel a really short love meditation. You can just send love and light from your heart into their heart, into their auric field, so that by you doing that energetically, you're reminding their soul of that inner light. You're reminding them of where they've actually come from and what their mission on earth is here for. So by you just sending that love and light to them, you don't have to speak. Because if that person doesn't want to hear you, and if they're teenagers, they probably don't. So basically, and sometimes my son doesn't, it's just where they're at. So I always send love and light and put love in their aura and surround them in that energy field and surround them with beings of light. So I'm not actually saying anything, but coming from it from an energetic point of view is far more powerful.
And Stephanie,
so you can just do that.
I'll just add to what you were saying, Terry. There's a well-known experiment that Cleve Baxter, who is in this wonderful old book that I was just reading, Secret Life of Plants, and he talks about an experiment that he did with a philodendron plant, one of those super common little plants that kind of hang in a basket. And it was a plant that was really nourished and raised like a child by this one person. And then they measured, then they separated the owner from the plant. And the owner went far away, like on the other side of the country. But first of all, they established that there was a connection at close range, you know, and then they measured it again with this person, you know, at a long distance, and found that there was still correlation. So, you know, it's just so fascinating. I mean, this is a house plant, and the person who watered it, you know, much less a human connection and a human relationship. Imagine the level of connectivity that can take place at a distance with that sort of relationship. So
100%.
Yes, I wanted to contribute to that too. Yes, yes. I'm sorry to interrupt. You want to say something? Then I wanted to share a resource for everybody about that too.
If you go to, like, one of my special places is Huntington Library in Pasadena. So you go there, and there's this magnificent tree that me and my son sit and meditate at. And people are probably going to think I'm cuckoo, but, you know, I've co-written books around nature with children for mindfulness, but I can hear that tree very easily. It's, you know, if you listen, like even with my plants outside, me and my husband the other day, I heard the plant say, "You need to move me. It's this too much sun." I definitely heard it, you know. So when you really get into the rhythm of everything, and you look at some of the old books stated all the way back, they did connect, like the Native Americans, they tuned into every living thing.
Let me just let you all know that Courtney Shelburne, who is a massage therapist at Oasis Palisades, that is her passion and what she's been doing for years and years. And I think she was raised knowing, but it's plant medicine, something like she has an actual like degree in plant medicine, and she goes and hangs out with the plants that she's going to use with her clients, like, and builds a relation. I am laughing because I don't know, but it just seems crazy. But it's not.
It's actually true. It is measurable. It's not crazy.
I know. So we'll have to, like, just so you guys, we should have Courtney come on sometime, maybe.
Yeah, interesting. But that
would be great for her to talk about.
Yeah.
I wanted to share the HeartMath Institute because, again, we can measure the magnetic field around our heart 60 times greater than the one around our brain. And they've had these types of research studies and practices. We're connected to other living things, plants and people.
Well,
and
you know,
we have our presence that actually affects each other.
Well,
at every level of it.
You know, the heart meditation, it's only 5 minutes and 55 seconds. I just send them out. I don't listen to them afterwards. It's my voice. I don't want to listen to myself. But, you know, a lot of my clients and a lot of my friends, they've taken testimonials that they've done that love to their mothers and families, that they're living in Dubai or they're living in England, or they can't see their parents. They can't see anyone. But they've sent that love and they've noticed a massive difference. So it's so important to do that little exercise, and I'll send the link to Andrea and she can stick it on the page and people can listen to it and just still have that powerful connection, and you're sending healing to someone else but also to yourself. And I just think that is the most important thing that we can do for one another at the moment, and the most loving thing. And again, you're dropping into your heart. But yeah, so what we're going to do now, I think, is drop into our heart, because now we're going to do meditation. So
yeah, we can change our state, and we have a ripple effect throughout the entire world, throughout everything and everyone we're connected to. That's the answer here, to change our state and be a positive resonance to everyone.
And I'm just going to end on the last note, is to just really tune into your body, tune into yourselves. Don't beat yourself up. Get help if you don't know what's going on emotionally. Source, you know, whether you want to see a healer or you want to see a herbalist or acupuncturist or whatever, anybody to work with you that's on the same vibration that can help you on this path, help you to get through this, because there's so much help out there, and so don't struggle alone, really. So anyway, ladies, if we're all ready, if you want to just get relaxed, I'm going to put a little bit of music on and we'll do a small meditation. Okay, if you'd like to just bring your mind to your breathing. Just breathe out deeply and evenly. Just get the rhythm of your breath going, just like the rhythm of the sea, always in rhythm. Nature is always in rhythm with every living thing around it. There is no competition. It's just divine synchronicity and rhythm, allowing Mother Earth to flow. So I want you in your mind to see yourself in your beautiful soul garden, whatever that may look like for you. Or maybe it's a particular country or place or destination that you love on Mother Earth. And just envision yourself there, surrounded in that beautiful nature, surrounded by the trees, the flowers, the butterflies and birds, and the blue sky. Surrounded by that water, the waterfall that might go into the lake, or it might go into a lagoon, or it might just be flowing down through the mountains. But physically feel your feet on Mother Earth and the soil underneath your feet. And you feel your energy infusing into Mother Earth like golden roots with each step that you take. But also you're drawing that energy up through your feet, through your body, with that golden energy of light from Mother Earth. You are connecting deeply on every level. And in your heart, you're asking Mother Earth to infuse you with her healing energy and love. As you're entwining yourselves back together on every cellular level. And you're doing this through your breath, with each step that you're taking. And I want you to make your way over to your water. Maybe you'd like to swim in the water or stand in the waterfall. Just allow this water to energize every part of your body and cleanse every part of your body. Or maybe to release the past week that you've had, or your emotions. Just release it all and let it go into the water, and allowing the cleansing, healing, crystal blue water to just take all of what's needed, no longer needed, takes it and transmutes it into that water, into that energy, that cleansing energy. And you're bathing in this beautiful waterfall of light. And you notice your body starting to shine from within like a light bulb. And the light is beaming out to each one of your chakras, into every living element within your beautiful soul garden. And especially your heart, as you're dropping into your heart. And just taking that moment while you're in the water to allow the cleansing of your heart and your mind, but working primarily through your heart. Filled with love and gratitude from Mother Earth for her beauty, for everything that she gives us every living day. And all she asks of us is respect and love. The love and respect that she shows us. And as you step out of the water, allowing that sun to dry you from head to toe, as you're bathing in the sun, and as the sun comes through your crown chakra, because the sun represents our crown, allowing that beam of light to come through our body from the sun, through your face, down your throat, as a beautiful golden light fills your chest area, fills your arms, fills your heart, as you take the golden light down your stomach, down through your colon, cleansing and healing, balancing and enlightening every part of your body as you take that golden light down your tops of your legs, all the way down to your feet. Your body and your aura is infused with the golden light from the sun. And you now can take this moment to send light to anyone that you feel may need it at this time, whether it's a family member or a friend. Sending that love and light out into your family or friends, or maybe your country. Maybe somebody who you love dearly is in another country. Allowing that beautiful energy to float into their heart from yours. As you take a nice deep cleansing breath. As you fill yourself with that love and gratitude and light. As you say to yourself that you are connected to every living thing around you. And you carry this light every single day for everybody to see, to be an example of that light, of that love, of that wisdom, of that healing. And you give thanks and blessings for the start of this new day. And you know that everybody that you come in contact with, they will feel this light. They will feel your love as it is placed in your auric field. So just take this one moment to look around you in your soul garden. How calm and tranquil you feel in your mind and body. How serene and beautiful this place truly is. Everything is in balance. Everything is in harmony. You just take this moment to bring that awareness back to yourself. To bring it back to your surroundings. Take some nice deep breaths as you bring yourself fully back. Filled with love and light. I think we had some real beautiful birds coming through there.
You too.
I was thinking my music that sounds really real. Oh, I can't like look. And then I thought, oh, when you didn't see that, but it's Tiara. I think it's gone off.
How cute.
What is that?
It's just one of our little chickens. And I was just noticing as the meditation was happening that they were getting so quiet and sweet and were coming over toward the corner of the cage to kind of see what was going on.
Oh my God.
So I just pulled one of them out there at the end.
Oh, it's
to say hi.
What a beautiful energy.
You know, for me, it's like this little chicken, you were talking about the sun energy, you know, they're just naturally being themselves. They're totally zen. They're just in their zone, you know, and that's all, you know, that we're asked to do as creatures here as well, is to, you know, be our, you know, perfect selves. you know, just exactly who we are. And there's no other major goal that we need to do.
So we like that we have the confirmation from the chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they were feeling your meditation too and wanted to join in on it. They let us know they enjoyed it too. It's great.
Okay.
That was great.
Oh, awesome.
That was so great.
Thank you so much, Terry.
You're welcome, darlings, and thank
Yes,
you.
thank
I'll
you.
send you the link for the heart meditation. Maybe you can drop it in the link. And then
Yes, I can. I'll drop in resources. Yeah.
I'll send it over to you so people can just, you know, do their own connection and send it out to the world and connect. Even if you can't get outside, or people that are not going outside, you can still bring that energy into them. Like you said, it's all connected. You can remove the plants, but you're still connected to them. So as long as you're feeding yourself spiritually and emotionally and mentally, then that's the one thing. So.
Yeah, there's so many great ways to do that, and
let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this that puts a wrench in it, because you think of, like, say what Courtney does or whatever, that the plant medicine is something that they're going to take orally. But what if Courtney studies the plant and somehow, like, energetically, I think that's how it's done. It with what she does is the plant is given energetically, not even a supplement.
100%.
So it's like, how is that even possible that somebody could send you what your body needs from a plant or something, you know?
We are energy. This is yeah. We have a very powerful energy within inside of us, that powerful being of light that has been suppressed through different ways of conditioning, and so this light has to come forth. And so the energy that we carry, and there's enough films out there, you know, all the way back to the energy that we hold and the power that we hold, just with our mind and with our hearts and with our energy. It's far more powerful than your words, actually.
And so it's like you don't even physically then have to have the plant. I don't know.
Well, you know, with meditation, I mean, I'm not outside, I'm inside, but I feel I'm in connection with the plants. I don't feel a disconnect, you know?
And if anyone's interested in learning more about that, you can look at the work of Elliott Cowan, who has the courses that he calls Plant Spirit Medicine. And
that's what she does, Plant Spirit Medicine.
I thought Elliott Cowan, and he's got workshops and great books you can get on Amazon. I put a link there.
Yeah.
But he really talks about using plants from the fullness of their capacities, and not just the physical nutritional aspects of the plant. So it's a very
I would love to challenge us to maybe Tiari, since you started this, to give an example in the next time of like, how do you, like, what would be a process of taking a plant energy and even giving it to yourself, you know, what would that look like or something?
Okay.
Well, it's actually prescribed in ancient China too, to make it really simple, like Terry had shared about connecting with the tree. So one of the recommendations in treatment for thousands of years to help you cleanse was to literally hug a tree, to go sit next to a tree as a means of treatment, so that you can become the half a hertz frequency of that tree. And how trees clean and cleanse the air. It literally helps in a modern science point of view. When those patients are tracked, it reduces the toxicity in their body, the levels of infection, the levels of pain, literally just making physical contact, sitting against the tree out in nature. It changes our state. And then what's fun is, like what Terry had done with this awesome meditation, our whole body will react as if we're next to the tree. If we imagine it, our whole body reacted as if we were in the sun. I felt so wonderful from the sun. I'm inside. My windows are like, I don't know, 15 feet away from me. I'm not in the sun in this room.
You're calling on that energy to come in, so it's going to come in. because you are a part of that energy. You're not.
Yeah.
I think that's where the whole problems come. Humans think they're separate. They're not, and that's what I loved about the Native Americans and all the original plant healers. They were just so connected on every level.
We will get connected more and more each day. That's this whole process of us bringing these tools and tips to you to become more connected. Stephanie, you're muted. We can't hear you. Let me unmute you.
No, I got it. What I was going to say is I need to run soon, but I always, and I would love to learn more about Native American medicine. Oh, I would be in heaven to learn some Native American. I know the healing power of the drums and probably the dancing and even probably the chanting, whatever they do. But as far as like, medicine and stuff like that, be interesting to learn more. But I love you, ladies, and I'm gonna pop it out because
have a wonderful week, everyone. We'll look forward to next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.